awesome karma that you reached out, and hit follow on my my podcast page the other day. So I truly appreciate it. What's your thoughts on how we got here? How we're at 4-1, 18th ranked nationally. Some good games against Oregon State, great defensive showings against UNLV, BYU, and Maryland. With the exception of a couple of bad, three interception game from Jake Ruddock, and overthrowing a couple of wide receivers, man. I mean, we could be very well sitting right in the top 10, seeing how now Utah is up in the top 5. So, what's your thoughts on how we got here, man?
Progression. That's how I sum up the season so far. Progression and development. We started off the season with Utah, who's ranking top 5 now. So the loss doesn't look that bad, but it's just taking each game one by one. And Ruddock has shown, to make progression. He's a little rocky start, but right now he's sitting at 5 TDs and 6 interceptions. But last game against Maryland, I mean, he was connecting wonderfully. And it's just taking it game by game. And we can't look ahead of our current opponent, which is Northwestern, tomorrow. We'll take that game on and see where we end up after that.
What's your thoughts on the impact of Harbaugh? I mean, obviously, we had some decent ranked classes come in under Brady Hope, and it just seemed like for whatever reason, he couldn't develop those guys. We couldn't get it. We couldn't get much. We couldn't get the offensive line established. Defensively, maybe the defense wasn't even really that tired. That bad. Maybe they just were on the field so damn much. But now, are you shocked that? I thought we'd see some change on offense. I thought we'd become more physical, run the ball better, and I thought we'd see some solid QB play. But to be ranked 3rd nationally in defense, I'm a little shocked at that.
To answer your question about Harbaugh and his impact with the team, let's be honest, Harbaugh's doing a fine job recruiting, but the current class that he has right now technically wasn't his recruiting class. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
Okay. So it's about having the proper leader and that leader developing the talent that he has. Yes, I agree with you with the defense, but it's taking the proper leadership by bringing in the right coaches to develop that talent. And this is supposed to be a building here. This is supposed to be a building. Let's be honest. This is supposed to be a building here. And we're ranked 18th. So it all boils down to leadership and development. And I think we have the right guy.
What do you think is kind of, and I don't know if you have maybe some inside, information being up there closer to it, but what do you think is being done differently? Do you think it's attention to detail? Do you think it's holding people accountable? Do you think it's coaching people up? How can you take this same group of guys and have this, I see body language and just a personal confidence in these players that I just wasn't seeing.
You hit the nail on the head with accountability. Watching this program from the day Harbaugh took over and following the recruiting and watching, all the updates and everything, it was always known that no player was etched in stone as you're going to start at this position, right? Mm-hmm. It's all about accountability. You play for your spot every single day. So if you're not cutting into practice, you're not playing. And when you're dealing with that mentality, look what's ending up on the field. It speaks for itself.
Agreed. So we are 4-1. ranked 18th nationally. I do see some better body language. The defense, like I said, is playing lights out. My personal issue is I'm just waiting on when we're gonna have those dynamic, elite, stellar playmakers at the skill positions. And I don't want to slight Darboh and Chesson, but I'm just waiting on when are we going to get some kids in here? Because, obviously if we're doing well and capable of ascending into the top 10, then the next step is when can we get into that playoff discussion? And, as a longtime fan, if we look back, we were virtually irrelevant for the whole BCS era, with the exception of a season or two. So when do you think, maybe you're watching the recruiting a little bit better than I am at this point, but when do you think we get those skilled players in there, man?
It's all a process. It's all a process. It's season by season, and it does come down to recruiting, but it's one season at a time when it comes to recruiting, and it also depends on what you put on the field and what your outcome is. So where you do reload like teams like Alabama, where you're getting 4 or 5-star recruits every year, when kids are coming out of high school saying, "Hey, I want to go to Michigan," right? They ended the year in the top 5. I'm just hypothetically, they ended the year in the top 5. I want to go to Michigan. I'm one of the top kids in my area, right? So these satellite camps that Harbaugh is setting up, they want to go to these camps and meet them, and it's all about the process. And I think that people that are smarter than me have got a plan, and they're going to execute, and I have full faith. It's good things to come, man. I'm excited, really excited.
I am too. Let me ask you, do you think Harbaugh is in? Because I've had some trepidation, and I'm kind of afraid to fully dig in. Do you think he's really there long term? I'm trying to, out the course of the sports calendar, different rumors start coming up. But when Pagano was struggling in Indianapolis, the whispers started coming around the water coolers about, Pagano could be out in Indianapolis. And obviously with Harbaugh being over on this side of the country now, and the Colts having his former QB, maybe there would be a return back to the NFL on Harbaugh. So I'm just asking, in your heart of hearts, do you think that Harbaugh is truly dug in Ann Arbor for the long term? You there, Ryan? You there, Ryan? Ryan. All right, we got Ryan back on the line. Sorry about that. So Ryan, I was asking you about any rumors or the chances of, basically I was just asking, do you think in your heart of hearts that that Harbaugh is at Michigan for the long term?
I do, and my honest opinion, Harbaugh is not going anywhere anytime soon. Insider information of what I've heard, that this is his absolute dream job, and that he turned down other offers to come here, and this is where he thinks he's supposed to be.
Hey, that's all.
I heard that there was a conversation that took place between him and his dad, and he asked his dad what he should do, and he said, "Follow your heart," and that's allegedly not on record. But then he went to Michigan, so I think he's here for the long haul.
Well, I hope so, man. Like I said, I've had some trepidation about fully buying in, but I'm gonna put it on Ryan Hagg's back that I can rest assured that the guy isn't going anywhere now. And and maybe some things were mishandled at first. I know when they initially, was a chance for them to try to bring them there. I guess one of the high up faculty members said he was still too green or something. Whatever. I think it's an excellent place for him. And I think with Urban Meyer being down in Columbus, I mean, and the work that D'Antoni is doing over in East Lansing, I really think we need Harbaugh there.
I agree, 100%.
So you mentioned about the satellite camps, future recruiting classes, and that's a great point because, like you said, if your team is irrelevant in this day and age, for 3, 4, 5 seasons, and high school kids don't see your program as being one of the truly elite, destinations, then, like you said, these kids can get together, talk. Social media is out there. I know you saw the problems that they were discussing about Texas. Kids on social media talking about let's leave or decommit from Texas and, and go to A&M and whatnot. So it's just a day and age where, like I said, we can't be irrelevant the way that we were during the majority of the BCS era. But we don't have to get any predictions. But before we get into breaking down this Northwestern game, talent wise, man, with what we have right now, I'm still not totally sold on our running backs. I know they run hard, they try. What's your thoughts on, we got Michigan State coming up October 17th. That's in 2 weeks. And then we have actually that's next week. And then we have the Hoosiers is another big matchup out there, based on the game that they just had against the Buckeyes. That's November 14th.
Right.
And then, of course, and that's at Indiana, by the way. And then, to finish up the season, of course, we have the game of all games. Ohio State comes up to Ann Arbor. How do you think we match up talent-wise? Hopefully you come back on and we can actually get into those games more in depth. But just talent-wise, do you think we can compete?
All right, let's break it down versus MSU first. Okay. First off, I live in Michigan, so I'll be honest with you. My hatred for the Spartans, put it on record, is higher than for the Buckeyes. Because I deal with Spartans on a daily basis. I don't deal with Buckeyes on a daily basis. But back to my point. When you're playing last week against unranked Purdue, and it's coming down to the final minutes of the game, and you're only winning by 3 points in Michigan, and I'm looking at Michigan's defense, you're analyzing all this. You're like, we've got a shot, right? Which we thought at the beginning of the season, we're like, oh, this is going to be a rebuilding year. Every Michigan fan's like, we've got a shot against these guys. Michigan's defense, Michigan's offense is starting to click. Jake Rudock's starting to get his timing down. I think that if I have to make a bold prediction right now, we win by 10 points in Ann Arbor.
Woo.
October 17th.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
because our defense, I think that our defense gets teams to the point to where they eventually break down. So what I've seen thus far, it's just smash mouth, classic Michigan football that I haven't seen in years. Would you agree?
I would agree. And actually, before we get into the Northwestern Michigan breakdown, I saw earlier today that Pro Football Focus actually has graded out a junior cornerback Jordan Lewis as the number 1 DB in all of college football. He's had 7 pass breakups, 13 tackles, 1 for a loss, and then 1 interception. And Pro Football Focus also has defensive end Chris Wormley and defensive tackle Maurice Hurst grading them out as the most impactful D lineman in all of football. And then lastly, Jabril Peppers is